I think we still have a few attendees rolling in right now, but we want to be aware of everyone's time today, and we do appreciate you spending a little bit of your Thursday with us. And as always, we do appreciate the community and everyone that loves Overdrive and these products. We've spent a lot of time today with people talking about the robots, the Puzzlets handheld system, and our video games. And I think it's really one of the pleasures that I have working at Digital Dream Labs, being able to work with a community that loves these products as much as you do. So thank you for that. Getting started with the racing update today. So I think last month, this webinar was a little bit of a wide-ranging event where we talked a little bit about the robots, Puzzlets, and racing. We've tried to break that out so that we can have a more narrow focus on some of the topics and really give a deeper dive in this case on Overdrive. So before we get started today, we are using Zoom webinar, and all attendees are muted by default. Myself and Robbie, who is our Director of Customer Experience, will be trying to answer as many questions as we can in the limited amount of time we have with you today. So we would ask that you use Zoom's question and answer feature to relay any questions that you have. We are recording this presentation, and we'll be posting that to YouTube, and I think also in the Facebook group afterward for anybody that might have any questions or weren't able to attend today. And we'll also be sending out a survey via email later today or tomorrow to just get feedback on what you liked, didn't like about the format for the webinar, or if we had any questions, if you had any questions that we weren't able to address during the presentation. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So that's what we're here to talk about today: Overdrive and our racing games. An update on InfiniDrive, which I think is the most foremost update in everyone's mind. So the engineering team are currently beta testing the track and car clips for InfiniDrive, and we are looking forward to sharing more information, more videos and things as we're able to, and look forward to having the upgrade kits available for purchase later this year. We also do have the repair center here in Pittsburgh is up and running. We do apologize for any delays that we've may have been caused by COVID. We do take precautions with the repair center in alignment with some of the recommendations for our region. But we do understand that has caused some issues with delays in people getting their batteries replaced or tire replacement. And we do appreciate your understanding as it comes to those things. One of the things that I think we do are looking at as far as the roadmap for Overdrive and the future of these cars, we are looking at improvements to the app, issues where customers are saying that they've lost campaigns, things like that. Our team are actively looking into fixes there, and also looking at improvements for adding additional campaigns and new characters to the app. We're also, I believe, looking at ways that we can integrate or increase support for the existing cars across platforms. And then obviously looking at later in 2021 or possibly early 2022 for the full release of InfiniDrive branded starter kits with new cars, new tracks, and potentially a new interface for those, with, I think, some discussion about how we might integrate things like augmented reality into that user experience as we move forward in the coming years. But again, just products that we really love and want to make sure that we're fully supporting, as fully supporting the existing customer base, as well as growing our customer base as we move forward more in the coming year.
Excellent. And let's see here. So there were a couple of questions. There's okay. So Adam asks, does the repair center support the original Anki drive cars? And if not, are there plans to support the older cars in the future? So Adam, we actually do support the drive cars from a battery replacement standpoint. The tires as well are also able to accommodate a large amount of the drive cars. However, there are some small differences in some of the tires. So we're seeing about options to support those. But if you do send Anki drive cars in for battery replacements, etc., we are able to service those currently. Let's see here. And Jared asks, when the Ice Charger MXT and Nuke Phantom join Overdrive 2.6, will the Fast and Furious commanders be in it? So that's a really careful question, mostly because around the large portion of the challenge surrounds licensing. So the license for the previous characters and cars did not carry over with the digital asset purchase. And so what happens in this particular case is, while we may add the cars functionality over to the application, what we have to do is basically from the ground up, we have to redesign the commanders. We have to redesign, rename them essentially, and just kind of get away from the challenge of the licensing, as it is currently. So we may either relicense or completely redesign those to, fit within like the story and the lore, right, of Overdrive 2.6, and add additional commanders to kind of fill those gaps. But the current Fast and Furious commanders will most likely not be in the application just due to the licensing challenge.
Yeah, thanks, Robbie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think I can see a couple questions regarding the current Honeycomb campaign. I'm sure many of the attendees today are aware of the campaign that we had in 2020. I think Jacob, if you could perhaps provide a little bit more insight into how we're looking at the current campaign, and really the opportunities that we see there to grow our engineering team and bring new products fast to market faster.
Okay, so the both Honeycomb campaigns came as a result of a lot of our Republic investors wanting to invest more, even though the time for investment had closed, and also the means of which the investment had come to an end. So what we did is we made it available to invest in the next best thing, which is revenue sharing, which you earn a portion of a revenue. So as our revenue increases, for example, then the portion at which you get paid back increases as well. So that started as a Reg D campaign that closed last year. Then from that, we also got feedback saying, "Hey, look, I just want to put in $100 and invest in that way." So that's what we have as the Reg CF campaign. So the Reg D campaign is to expand that. The use of funds is to expand the InfiniDrive thing. So here I have the clip that goes underneath the car. So this clip has a capacitor inside of it, and Yeah, I guess I should exit, sharing the screen. So can you see that? Okay. So you can see there, the capacitor goes inside. Then this slides on top. And then this clips to the bottom of the car. And so right here, you can see the capacitor has these holes, and those holes attach right there that you can see the contacts. And then you clip that on. And then as it's on, it stays, it goes around the track, around the track, around the track, around the track. So, and it's charging then on the coils underneath the track. And that then keeps the game going on for hours. So the original Honeycomb campaign was the use of funds for that. We're developing that. We're running it through safety right now. And we'll have that coming out later as an add-on, not a full suite, not a full set, but as an add-on later this year. So the Reg D campaign from Honeycomb, though, however, and in the Reg CF as well, it doesn't just come from the revenue from all of our products, right? It comes, or excuse me, it doesn't come just from the Overdrive product. It comes from all of our products. So what we've been doing right now, just in terms of priorities, is focusing the biggest bang for our buck, which is Cosmo and Vector. Once we have that on the shelf, the revenue potential that skyrockets. We're talking 7-8 figures in this year, and then that revenue then goes to kind of like pay off those Honeycomb investors, if you will. So that's kind of the big picture. That's the big view. And then for the current Reg CF, we're going to use that use of funds there is to accelerate our robotics design. So that is to put the pedal to the metal to add a couple more robots to the robotics family. So that's the summary, if you will.
Great. And I think, obviously, Jacob, you're in the repair center now. And
yeah, I was running from my office to here, so that way everyone could see what's going on. And the people who've been paying attention from the beginning notice there's a lot more stuff here.
Yeah, and I can see the test track there just over your shoulder. I'm sure John and the team are busy today.
Yeah, we've had a lot of requests for Christmas. That's for sure. We have hundreds and hundreds of cars coming in for repairs, and then we're eventually so here's our our new treads that we have that came in. And of course, this is the liquid metal version of Cosmo. We're doing teardowns and rebuilds of Cosmo right now and Vector. Here's my Vector right here. Of both of these, so our technicians can start getting used to the idea of replacing the screen, putting in the batteries, things like that, disassembling, reassembling. So that'll be the next service we'll be offering here pretty soon. So pretty excited about that.
Yeah, and Jacob, I think we've had a few questions about new cars, and I know that our long-term plans, that is something that we're investigating right now. Is there anything that you could share, as far as adding new cars to our current lineup?
Well, I'm going to show you my multi-tool that I have here. Isn't this great? It's a hammer. It's a wrench. It's everything you can imagine. Let me unscrew one of these from the chassis, from the skin in the chassis, just to show everybody what we're thinking here. I'm doing it kind of inefficiently. I should use a smaller screw, I guess. Screwdriver. So the skins, so the way these cars are made is that the chassis are essentially universal, at least the most recent version of Overdrive. Not that Drive is different, but Overdrive, the most recent versions are pretty much identical. Now we're playing with the idea: do we make molds for the chassis or not? And the reason we're wondering about that is because most of the stuff anymore is off the shelf parts, so we could assemble it probably relatively easily, right? So while we're taking a look at that, the Overdrive car comes in two portions, right? So this is universal anymore. So you have the little circuit board here, It has, and you can see it's relatively simple. And then the batteries fits underneath here. You undo the clamp, and that's actually, you know, that's the bad because the battery's sitting on the bottom. That's where we're clamping here with a supercapacitor. But if you take a look at the wheels, and you take a look at, you know, the various other parts of the chassis, all this stuff can be purchased off the shelf. So that part's easy, and so is the printed circuit board. The printed circuit board is relatively straightforward. So what would happen is that we would just reskin them, right? This is a separate mold. We could cut a different mold and then bang out several different types of chassis, skins that fit on top of the chassis. There's all kinds of opportunities, right? There's all kinds of opportunities for different types of vehicles. There's what's called the Big Four. So it's Volkswagen, Ford, GM, and I'm forgetting the fourth one. It's a Chrysler, something like that, where you can get a license to basically have the chassis of all these things. And there's also ideas where I thought, you know, licensing deals would be pretty cool with Transformers, etc. I think what our primary focus right now is to deal with the issues that users are having right now so they get the most out of their purchases. So get the most out of your purchase and be happy with your product as much as possible. Then we perfect InfiniDrive, and then we start looking at you know, the other potential skins for the vehicles. We have renewed all the trademarks and copyrights for all the vehicles. So we just did that actually about 3 weeks ago. So the Boson, you know, you name it. Hey, you know, I'm not pronouncing these names right probably, but all of those trademarks have been renewed, all the copyrights are renewed. So all the current skins are going to be from the prior generations, including, so the other thing we've discovered is that Skull and the earlier skins are very popular. And so we'll probably be keeping those. The Fast and the Furious, for licensing reasons, that's just gonna have to fall off. But the original ones where you have let's call it pure, the original Anki Drive or Overdrive skins, we're going to be keeping those. And then as we add, I don't know, will we have a Volkswagen Bug? I don't know if enough people want it. But that's kind of like how these are made and how they're manufactured and kind of what we're looking at. The most difficult part of Overdrive is the track itself, because it has a coating on it, and the coating is good for the infrared sensors. And at the same time, it needs to be sticky enough so that these wheels can stay on and not fly off the track. So it's kind of a combination of all those things. But yeah, I think the idea that we could have a partnership with NASCAR, we could have partnerships with you know, James Bond vehicle or something like that to make it super slick. I think all of those are definitely possible.
Great. And you know, I think one of the questions that I have seen is, as it comes to InfiniDrive, you know, users will have to plug the new InfiniDrive track piece. They would have to power that in order to charge the cars. Correct, Jacob?
Correct. Yeah. So the way it's going to work, and what I should have done is set up a camera and zoom in. That's what we'll do for the next update. I think what we'll do is we'll show it in action. So for the next quarter, I'll set up a camera that can zoom in, and then you can kind of watch it run around the track. So yeah, this doesn't happen by magic, right? So the power has to come from somewhere. So what's happening is the power is being drawn from the plug. The plug then puts the charge in the coils. And then as this car is running over the coils, it's inducing essentially a circuit or a charge, and then it's charging this supercapacitor. Then that supercapacitor is going straight into the battery. So it's being, I know, right? So I had one of my friends just told me that Matt is the idealized version of me, which I cried for about a half an hour after that. So anyway, so as it's driving around, and it's going over that track, it's getting charged again, driving around, getting charged again. And I think, now we're not 100% sure, but even if your battery is completely dead, the capacitor will probably bypass that, and you don't necessarily need to put in new batteries. We're not sure about that 100%. Obviously, the most ideal situation is you have a brand new battery and a brand new capacitor, and then you get the best of both worlds. So we're still playing with that.
Yeah, and that would be great that completely eliminated any battery issues that we have.
That's what we're trying to do right now. Just eliminate the battery issues, really. Yep.
Yeah, and just to clarify, so when we're talking about InfiniDrive, this is an upgrade that the DDL team are currently working on for the current generation product that would allow users to race indefinitely. The cars would charge off the track rather than the dock.
It also doesn't change the ride characteristics because it fits in so perfectly, and this is very light. It's under 8 grams. It's not going to change the ride characteristics, or it won't fishtail or things like that. You know, if you do put a little bit of weight on top of the car, I'm sure users have seen that it'll fishtail, spin out, things like that. So we've made a very low profile, extremely light, so that way it doesn't affect the performance of the car. That's another thing I wanted to mention.
And I think one of the other questions, Jacob, that we have coming in is we've had a few questions about both support for the app and additional features that we are looking at as we internally talk about the next version of the mobile app. Is there anything that you think we feel confident about that we can share today with some of the customers?
Well, with a race car game, it's going to be very, very. So we've thought about it in many ways, and we've done this through play testing and then also feedback from users. So a lot of users are perfectly okay playing with this with the remote and then messing around with their car. Some, however, would just rather just have a classical controller. And so I think what we're going to do in the future is have a classical controller that's going to be controlling the cars, and then you can fit your phone on it if you want to. And then if you fit the phone on top of your classical controller, then you can start using AR applications, right? And you can start looking at the screen. So there are users who just simply just want to like, look, I want to race and I want to use a direct controller. There are other ones like, look, I want the app interaction. I want the issue or I have no issue with having that app running while I'm racing. And then there's even, let's call it the super user, who wants the AR experience with the controller inside the cell phone, and then tying all that together is going to be like let's call it like the hardcore user up here who wants as immersive as an experience as they can get. So we're going to be tackling all that stuff, but right now we're staying focused on the robots, and just trying to do one thing at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Jacob, one of the questions that I've seen a couple of times come through is, how long could the tracks potentially become, and would users be able to use multiple coils to charge throughout the course?
And so that's an answer that we're still trying to determine. At the moment, it appears that if you have 8 lengths of track, or let's call it 9 to round up, 9, you can put a 10th one in there, and then that's enough. So let's just say one charging track for every 10 segments, approximately. That might change depending on our test, but you'd need to have at least one. So in theory, if you had a track that had 50 pieces, you would have to have 5 charging strips in theory. But that may not be necessarily true, because it's also depending on how fast you're driving around, right? And then how long you're driving around. So you could, if you're going really fast, and you're going around like the track really quickly, you're getting charged really quickly. So there's a balancing act there. But we're thinking that, on average, it's going to be like kind of like a 1-to-10 ratio, which should be enough for most people. But for the really super, super long tracks, which we have a testing one back here, we'll have a more straightforward answer probably in the next few months.
Great. And so we have a couple minutes left. Everyone, I appreciate all the questions. Please keep them coming in. I think we have had a few questions about pricing for the upgrade kits and for potentially the starter kits. I don't think that we've not been able to solidify any numbers for those yet. that we can share on this call. Is that correct, Jacob?
I missed the last part of that.
Pricing for the InfiniDrive upgrade kits. Sorry.
Yeah, we have that figured out. We should go ahead and post it. We have a good idea of what it's going to cost now. We know what it's going to cost to manufacture, and then we know what it's going to cost to supply it. So, I believe we figured that out a while ago. We should make it public.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'd say anyone that had questions about pricing, please check back on the website here in the coming weeks, and we should have an answer for you then.
Well, I think when we post this, why don't we just put in the comment section the pricing, break it down? Because it's the reason I'm not giving you a straight answer right now is because it's in packages, right? We're breaking it out according to batteries, then breaking it out according to the charging coils, and then there's all kinds of different breakdowns of it. So.
Okay, great. Again, just keep the questions coming in. I guess one of the questions I've seen a few times now, are we going to be adding any additional weapons for 2.6?
So yeah, and I saw that also trucks this year. So I'll do it in reverse. So unlikely we're going to make any more trucks. They just simply don't sell. Out of the hundreds, if not thousands of cars we get here on a weekly basis, less than 10% are the trucks, and they're really hard to make and they're really expensive. But what we might do is use a chassis or two that's similar to kind of like, and then put a different skin to make it a truck. Then talking about the app, so we're going to use 2.6 as the core. I realize there's still bugs within, we're still working on it, but that's going to be the core app, and we're going to build up from that simply because it strips out a lot of the upgrades that Anki made back in the day that a lot of users didn't like. So then we are adding stuff back in that users do like, and that'll be the app, that'll be like the core going forward.
Okay, great. Well, everyone, again, I want to thank you for all the questions. I think there are a few left that we're not going to be able to get to today. But again, we will be sending a survey around to everyone. If there is a question that we weren't able to get to, please feel free to let us know in the survey, and a member of our team will follow up with you. Again, thank you for spending a little bit of your Thursday with us. Hope this has been informative, and we look forward to sharing more updates with you in the future.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye.